Something that I really like from physics is the fact that in the computing, in the calculations, in the numbers you put, you're always taking into account the precision of the measurement. This is why we use significant figures in physics. There's a video before in which I explain how to determine the number of significant figures of some number. In this case, we're going to talk about when we operate these numbers with significant figures, what do we have to do to give the answer? And it's very important that the main word you have in your mind is that you should always keep the least precise value, okay? Or the least accurate value. So this is the key word. Let me write it like least precise. Okay? So if you operate two numbers, you have to always keep the number, or you have to think in terms of the least number of significant figures or the least accurate numbers. So let's start with sum. Okay, there are some scrabbles here, you know. So let me erase it. This is not accurate, you know. So we're going to erase a little bit. Cha-cha-chan, cha-cha-chan. Get it now. So for example, let's start with addition or subtraction. Okay, how to do when you add or subtract. So if you add or subtract, the thing is to keep the least number of decimal places. Okay, least number of decimal places. For example, let's say that we're converting 32.1 degrees, and we're going to subtract, to add 273.15 to get it in Kelvin. Okay, so if you add the number, will be 5, 2, 3 and 2, it's going to be 5, 7 and 3, 10, and 2 and 1, 3, so 305.25. This is the conversion we use when we have degrees centigrade, and we're going to get it in kelvins. Okay, but as we're using significant figures, you have to keep into account that this number just have one decimal place and this number has two decimal places, so we have to keep the least number of decimal places. We have to round the number by putting away this 5. So the answer, the actual answer using significant figures is 305 point, we rounded to the 3 kelvins. Okay, this is for addition and subtraction, least number of decimal places. But what you can do when you multiply or divide? Okay, multiply or divide. When you multiply or divide, what you have to do is just to keep the least number of significant figures. The least number of significant figures. So for example, let's say that we want to determine a constant speed, okay? And to determine the constant speed, we measure the position, the displacement of an object as 30.1 meters times, and the time was 0.5 seconds. Okay, so if you take a calculator, close the calculator. You take a calculator, a scientific calculator, 30.1 15.1 times 0.5, so what you're gonna get? 15.05. So 15.05. I'm sorry, I did wrong. I did the formula wrong. I'm sorry. It's division. Velocity is 30.1 meters over 0.5 seconds. I'm sorry. You know, I've noticed because of the units. When you know units, you know when you get something wrong. So 30.1 divided by 0.5. 60.2. Okay, so 60.2 meters per second. But now we have to check significant figures. This number, the displacement has 3 significant figures, and the time just have 1. So my answer just can have 1 significant figure. I have to round this 2. So the speed or the velocity is going to be 60 meters per second. Okay? Or what about division? So let's say that you have, what about multiplication? Let's say that you have that acceleration, that the speed, it may be also acceleration times time. So let's say that the acceleration is 9.8 meters per square second, and the time is 0.503 seconds. So if you determine the speed, 9.8 meters per second per square second times 0.503 seconds, and that will give you some time for you to think how many significant figures should have the answer. Think a little bit. Okay, I have you think. Let me multiply 9 times 8 times 0.503. I got the answer 4.9294 meters per second. And if you think appropriately, if you did it right, the answer of the speed is going to be 4.9 meters per second. And this is so simple, right? So you can find me on my networks, all my social networks, as Hugo Fim, and you can tell me what do you think about the use of significant figures and how to operate them. Is it good? Do you like it? It's like a pain in the neck or not? But it's very important when you give your results in physics, okay? And remember, least precise number. When you have addition and subtraction, take into account decimal places. When you have division or multiplication, least number of significant figures. I hope that you enjoyed the video, and see you in the next. Bye.